Nathaniel Cole was one of the richest men in Savannah, Georgia. He owned businesses, large homes, and more money than most people could dream of. People respected him everywhere he went. But when the day ended and the lights in his huge estate grew dim, Nathaniel faced something money could not fix: loneliness. Years earlier, Nathaniel had lost his wife in a terrible accident. Since that day, he had slowly pulled away from the world. Friends stopped visiting. Family members rarely called, and his large dining hall became a place where he sat alone every evening. The long table could seat 20 people, yet only one chair was ever used. The workers in the estate did their jobs and stayed out of his way. Nathaniel was never rude, but he was quiet and distant. Most people believed he preferred it that way. One of the workers was Ellie, a cleaning lady who worked hard every day to support her young daughter, Lily. Life had not been easy for her. She could not afford a babysitter, so on some evenings, she brought Lily with her while she worked. The little girl stayed in a small room near the service wing, playing with a few toys while her mother cleaned. Lily was curious about everything. She loved exploring and asking questions. Even at her young age, she seemed to notice things that other people missed. One rainy evening, Nathaniel sat alone in the dining hall, staring at the meal in front of him. The food looked perfect, but he had little interest in eating it. The room felt too large, too quiet, and too empty. At the same time, Ellie was busy cleaning upstairs. She thought Lily was playing safely where she had left her, but Lily had other plans. The little girl quietly wandered out of the room and followed the bright lights coming from the dining hall. Step by step, she moved down the long corridor until she reached the doorway. When Nathaniel looked up from his plate, he was surprised to see a small child standing there. Lily stared at the millionaire without fear. Then she smiled and slowly walked closer. Before Nathaniel could react, Lily noticed a framed photograph sitting beside the table. It was an old picture of Nathaniel and his late wife. The little girl picked up the photo, looked at it carefully, then turned toward Nathaniel. A few seconds later, Lily pointed at the woman in the picture and asked a question that made Nathaniel freeze in his seat. And as the child waited for an answer, Nathaniel felt his heart pounding harder than it had in years. The question was simple: "Is that your wife?" Nathaniel looked at the photograph in Lily's small hands. For a moment, he could not speak. Very few people ever mentioned the picture. Most workers avoided it because they knew it brought back painful memories. Slowly, Nathaniel nodded. Lily smiled at the woman in the photo. "She looks nice." Those 4 words hit Nathaniel harder than he expected. For years, people had spoken about his wife with sadness. They talked about the accident, the loss, and the pain. But Lily did not know any of that. She only saw a kind face smiling from an old photograph. Just then, Ellie rushed into the dining hall. Her eyes widened when she saw Lily standing beside the millionaire. "I'm so sorry, sir," she said quickly as she hurried toward her daughter. But Nathaniel gently raised his hand, showing her it was all right. Lily carefully handed the photograph back. Then she looked around the huge dining hall. "Why do you eat here all by yourself?" she asked. The room became quiet. Ellie looked embarrassed, but Nathaniel surprised her once again. Instead of becoming upset, he pulled out a chair beside him and motioned for Lily to sit down. The little girl climbed onto the chair with a grin. That evening, for the first time in many years, Nathaniel did not finish dinner alone. Over the next few weeks, Lily often visited the dining hall while Ellie worked. Sometimes she showed Nathaniel her drawings. Sometimes she talked about birds she had seen outside. Other times, she simply sat nearby and asked endless questions. Little by little, the empty rooms of the mansion felt different. Nathaniel found himself smiling more. He started walking through the gardens again. He greeted workers instead of avoiding them. Some evenings, he even laughed at Lily's funny stories. Ellie noticed the change and could hardly believe it. The lonely millionaire who once hid from the world seemed to be coming back to life. One afternoon, Lily handed Nathaniel a drawing. It showed 3 people standing together in front of a large house. Nathaniel pointed at the picture and smiled. "Who are they?" he asked. Lily pointed to each figure. "That's Mommy." Then she pointed to herself. "And that's me." Finally, she pointed to the third person. "And that's you." Nathaniel stared at the drawing for a long moment. For the first time in years, he felt like he belonged somewhere. The mansion no longer seemed so large. The days no longer felt so long. A child who knew nothing about money, power, or loss had given him something priceless. And as Nathaniel Cole looked at the old photograph one more time, hearing Lily's innocent question echo in his mind, he felt something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Because for the first time since losing the woman he loved, the silence in his mansion no longer felt empty. It felt like the beginning of a conversation he thought life had taken away forever.